What's up, everyone? This is Conor, aka Supernerd, CM613. This is Rogue Thoughts, no script, no visuals, just me talking through ideas, life, creativity, and whatever's rattling around in my head this week. If you're listening, thanks for being here, and let's get into it. I hope you guys have had a fantastic week this past week. I know we launched off with the first episode, and so far, so good. We're going to see how things play around. But you guys go check out the first one in terms of why I'm starting this week with no plan. And this one, we're going to be talking about loving nerd stuff as an adult and why. I don't know why people still judge it, or at least I don't think they do. Maybe that's just me. So clearly, from the title of not only this video or this episode, but my name itself is the word nerd. And it is very fascinating to me how much has changed in the world of, I guess, nerdom, for lack of a better description. Because, like, I remember, growing up as a kid, I definitely easily leaned into nerdy things, but the weird thing about me, amongst a multitude of list of other weird things about me, is that I was nerdy into very specific things. And obviously, as you can tell from like the background here of this episode, you kind of get the gist of it. I'm just rattling off a few. Obviously, professional wrestling, Marvel, DC, any sort of those major comic book heroes. Obviously, Dragon Ball. I'm a huge anime fan, although I will admit I have not been as on top of anime in terms. I haven't like watched any more current stuff than I probably should have, to be honest with you. We should definitely be broadening my horizon on that part. But I remember, growing up as a kid. I was born in the late 80s, so like basically my childhood was a good chunk of the 90s. And graduating high school around mid 2000s. So like I had like I'm a millennial, for those of you keeping track at home, which it's now an okay word to say. I remember the time it's like, "Ah, you millennials," and I'm like, "We're just here, man. We're just here. We're just being ourselves." But being a millennial was interesting because, like, nerdom was still kind of, for lack of a better word, like, I don't want to say taboo. That sounds really weird, but like, nerdism was definitely not as mainstream compared to other things as is now. One thing I will say in terms of, and I'm sure we can always get into talk about this another time, but one thing I will say about the internet, one of the positive things I can say about the internet is that when used properly, when used for the power of good, it can bring people together. And no better example is when I was doing my run with the wrestling stuff, because I never reached maybe the heights of popularity and quote unquote success, depending on how you want to look at it. But I have developed friendships and relationships and memories that will last me a lifetime, and I could not be ever more grateful for it. Like, I really am. Like, I've seen other like content creators crash and burn. I've seen others, kind of stay stagnant and just kind of staying at the same spot. But I got out. I did my thing there, even though I am technically a effing content creator doing this right now. But like back then, when I was like really pressing hardcore into it and really like going over the top and basically making it a full-time job, I never got any major success, but I was rewarded with a lot of the positive interactions and connections and people that I'm still friends with to this day, that I talk daily out of it. And that's all done from the nerdom of pro wrestling. And so, nerdom growing up was interesting for me because it was kind of hush hush. But then again, I did grow up in a school environment where, yeah, there were cliques, and I'm sure anybody who's a friend of mine from high school can chime in and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I have a lot of Dame Bramage. But the high school we had cliques, but not in like the traditional way you'd think from like a typical like cartoon or movie, or like a cliche where it's like jocks here, that there, blah blah blah. But like we kind of like cycled through different nerdoms. And so like I had the Pokemon fandom. I was very big into Pokemon for the while. Very big into Yu-Gi-Oh, which I'm actually, funny enough, my son is also interested in that as well, and I've talked with him about maybe looking into tapping back into it, although that game has gone on. Anyway, I could go on a whole other thing about that one. But like nerdom has changed so much, is where I'm getting at with this, in terms of it's being more mainstream. Now it's like, a proud thing to be a geek or a nerd, or a hot thing to be a geek or a nerd. And it's kind of, really, like, I mean, think about it this way, right? I'm sure there is something that you listening to me right now are like super heavy into, whether it's a genre, a show, a movie, or a series, book, TV, whatever it is. And there's something that like, so meticulously to the point of like, and I know this is kind of somewhat joked about, but like, it's like, uh, this is your fixation, your hyperfixation. So like, is your autism showing? But you get what I'm saying. But like, yeah, like in terms of like your thing where like, shut all the windows, shut all the doors, shut the f up. This is my thing. Like you don't know what you're talking about. But like kind of that like super like obsessive, like that's when like the pupils dilate kind of thing. For me, that was wrestling. First it was well, actually, if we really want to go back, first big one was Power Rangers. And I'm still a big nerd about Power Rangers actually to this day, which I can go on a whole tangent about that one. But like I think Power Rangers was the first big one for me. And then like morphing into like those other shows like Big Bad Beetleborgs, Mystic Knights of Tyranno, VR Troopers, oh, and then I think like right as that was dying out, that's when Pokemon hit the scene around like 2000s, like late 90s and the 2000s. And then also at that time I was getting into wrestling. And so it was just a matter of just like switching like shifting around the Rubik's cube of what nerdum thing I was going to be. So it's not like I never stopped being a fan of those things. It's just that I got more hyper fixated on something else and just kind of shifted things along. So like, obviously I don't do wrestling content anymore ish, but I still follow the product regularly enough to know what's going on. Marvel, I've watched, I religiously watched everything MCU and everything DCU for a while, and then lately, like I still haven't watched Daredevil. I still haven't watched Daredevil. And there's a lot of new movies and shows I still want to get into. But it's interesting because taking on, and forgive me to kind of pivot on this tangent, but like it's interesting doing it as a dad too. It is very interesting as a dad because one thing that I um and forgive me if I pause a lot in this. It's not that I'm going off on more tangents here. If you hear me pause for long periods of times in these episodes, folks, I apologize for the dead air. But sometimes I have this thing where I try my best to not blurt out things and say things incorrectly. So you could chalk that up as an insecurity, you could chalk that up as a whatever, but I'm sure it's a form of PTSD from something. I just don't know what. But I've now developed this like habit, not always successfully, of catching myself and trying to watch what I say, just because I feel I don't want to misconstrue my thoughts and my feelings, so I want to be just very as clear as humanly possible. So I don't want to like. Anyway, point is, if you hear some dead air, that's the point. Um, as a dad, one thing that I never wanted to do was force either of my kids to um, take up what I liked. I didn't want to push that on them. I didn't want to push anything on them. Who likes being pushed? Um, mostly. No. We listen, but we don't judge. But no, I never wanted to push any of that stuff on my kids. Like my son likes pro wrestling, as do I still, and he shares a lot of the same interests as I do. I never wanted to like put a gun to his head and say, hey, you have to like these things now, or you have to like my thing. I mean, we actually just had a talk literally before I got on here to record this of something wrestling related, and I'm like, yeah, that's a great, and I told him like that's a great idea, like a pitch that he had. And same thing with my daughter, but obviously it's different daddy daughter situation, although she's gotten into some shows and stuff that it's a whole thing. But my point is that I didn't want to hinder their nerdom either. I wanted to embrace it because growing up, it's not that my mom and dad didn't want to uh, support me. I just think they didn't know how to, per se, which is. And let me back up there. That sounds like I'm saying that they didn't do good. No, they did. I want to make sure I'm clear about that. See, this is what I'm talking about. The whole like saying the wrong thing. My parents definitely supported me. I don't know if it was just because of what I was into or the like how can a parent really get into that stuff with their kid. It's tricky because like I get like that there's a generational disconnect, just as that there's a generational disconnect between me and my kids, where like there's just things that they don't want to involve with or vice versa, and that's fine. It is what it is. but I definitely wanted to encourage as much as humanly possible their interests and their hobbies. And so I never wanted to instill that nerddom into them, whatever it may be, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, wrestling, WWE, Dragon Ball, anime, whatever you want to, whatever my fixation is this week. But that being said, the kids do have their own things too, and again, it makes me happy to see them enjoying that and really enjoying that. And that's kind of another weird thing about nerdom too, is that, like I said in the beginning, like a positive thing about the internet growing up was that, coming into the age of the internet, you were able to find like-minded people and like-minded people and embrace like a community culture where you have people that now, you know, you don't have to be right next to, and you can grow together with the same passion and energy towards a common thing. And but at the flip side of that, you've also created an area where it's open season for anybody to shame you or to also ridicule and criticize, and that goes into a whole internet bullying thing, and that's a whole mess too. So you got to take the good with the bad, and again, back to the kiddos. I never tried to steer them away from anything. If there's something they wanted to see, they wanted to, okay, let's all right, let's explore that. Sometimes things work out, sometimes things don't. And nerdom shame too and gatekeeping has always been, this is something that I hopefully never participated in when I was doing my okay Fabe shtick. But man, gatekeeping of any kind is a toxic trait, because you're telling people, um, you're telling people that they can't enjoy something because of their lack of knowledge. And instead of embracing somebody who is new to the fandom and helping the fandom of whatever it is, grow, thrive, or educate people, I never understood that on any level. And unfortunately, it's something that you see in a lot of communities. At least I have, where it's like, you don't know this, that. It's such trivial elementary school bullshit, where it's like, you're not a real fan if you don't know X. It's like, it just, like, for God's sakes. Like, I know that my cohorts and my friends have poked fun at me for being a wrestling encyclopedia when it comes to like knowing just absurd random wrestling trivia knowledge, but yet can't do other tasks. Which, I mean, hey, kudos. But like, I've never I never held that over anyone's head, where it's like, you're not a wrestling fan if you don't know who Bob Backlund defeated and blah blah blah. It's just dumb. It's dumb, asinine, just trivial, like just juvenile stuff of like holding people to a fandom standard. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, if you're enjoying something, like, I'm trying to encourage people to enjoy the things they like, you know what I mean, and not like deter them away. Are there things that I like that you may not, and vice versa? Absolutely. It's not for me, not my cup of tea. I'll give you an example. Like, there are plenty. Oh God, this actually might, now that I think about it out loud, this might open up a can of worms, and I'm sure this might have people like bashing me for this. Um, but there are certain fandoms and genres and things that I never got into, but I understand why I never got into them. And it's not because those things suck. It's because they just don't appeal to me. I may jokingly say it, but like, for example, just one off the top of my head, like my friend Andrew from high school, who I'm still friends with to this day, best friend in the world. He loves Legend of Zelda, super mega into Legend of Zelda. I don't have the goddamn attention span for it. I just don't. And again, I've seen clips, I've seen gameplay, and I'm sure if people are watching or listening to this, God knows when, they're like, oh my God, how could you not? Look, I have the attention span of a damn squirrel, okay? So it's hard for me to sit still and sit down and be able to kind of concentrate sometimes, depending on what it is, right? Again, key focus in on your interests and whatnot. But I that one's tough, but there are other similar adventure style games that do appeal to me, where I can engage and keep my attention span going. But I just know myself enough to know that doesn't just, like, it just doesn't click with me. And that's not, and I'm not gonna go out and say, oh, that thing sucked. No, I'm gonna say, like, cool, man, that's your thing too. Like, I would infinitely rather embrace people's nerddoms than to ever shame or ridicule them for. And if I ever have, please let me know, and I apologize. I will grovel for forgiveness. Um, And one thing particularly that I'm a big fan of too is also the idea of never growing out of it. Where like, you think you're too old for something, and I mean, there's I, I should probably put this with a gigantic asterisk. There's there's common sense in terms of like what you may be too big or too old for when it comes to nerddom, and I have to be very specific when it comes to nerddom because obviously if you are still craving the idea of you being in a crib and a in baby attire when you're 56, then that's a kind of that's a different, that is in itself a different a much different situation in conversations. I think it's more than just one conversation. But my point is that like, I again, millennial, I guess elder millennial, which, oh god, that's gonna make me feel wonderful tomorrow. But like an elder millennial who, like I said, grew up on the nostalgia of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Power Rangers, Marvel and DC stuff. Like, a lot of people are, oh, you watch that Marvel stuff that's for kids. I mean, I challenge you to watch Captain America: Winter Soldier and tell me it's not a good movie. That's the one I'll put up for fighting. But no, my point is that like, uh, again, just I like to embrace nerdom. I like to see people enjoy things that they like because let's face it, folks, the world is not necessarily, um, I'll just say, the best place out there in the moment, and I think that in today's day and age, it is very easy to it's very easy for people to cut you down and push you down and keep you down, and there's a lot more negativity on the internet than I think people understand. That being said, though, that's why I try to say, hey, like, let's embrace the things we like. Let's all for the positivity, man. Like, all here, hoorah, hooray. Like, I don't want, oh, I'm too old for going out of it. Like, screw it, man. Like I just said, I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh with my son. It's like, who cares, man? It's a good time. It's a good time had by all. Like, screw it. If you're enjoying yourself and it's not causing any harm to anybody else, I say let's embrace it. Let's have some good times. May not be my cup of tea, but as long as it's you're enjoying it. And I guess in some cases too, that's kind of what I also try to push on the kiddos too, just in the sense of like, you know, um, just again, like, supporting people with, like, don't shame or ridicule or criticize others for just their fandom knowledge or lack thereof. Like, you haven't seen this. Like, easy does it. Like, oh my god, I can't even tell you the number of I probably should have a list this year, honestly, with all the changes I'm making. I should probably start a list going, but there are it's a laundry list of movies and shows that I still haven't watched or seen, that it's not a matter of not wanting to see or watch them. I just don't have the damn time anymore, man. It's just insane. Plus, nerddom's also expensive. That's the other problem with it too. Is that, like, you see a lot of stuff out there. Being a nerd can get rather expensive depending on what you're looking at here. And it's like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and let's get ourselves the Triforce sword. What's that? We're gonna insure it as an investment. Yes, I think that's exactly what we're gonna do. But loving nerd stuff as an adult is interesting because, to me, I've always had uh I've always been basically a kid at heart. A lot of people who know me, whether it be real life or online, or even just a mix of both, honestly, it's just who I am. I like to see people happy. I like laughter. I love enjoyment. I love good times. I don't like any other, there's joking amongst friends, but like, I just love a good time had by all. And one thing that really makes me happy to see too is when you see other people enjoy other, when you see other people's enjoyment, other people being happy. I mean, we've seen God knows enough stuff that's bad out there as it is, but when you see a good moment, a happy moment, a moment of, like, a cool thing, or somebody paying forward, or just like a good laugh or a prank or anything like that, it's good times, man. And again, like I said, there are nerdums and fandoms out there that aren't for me, that I haven't got into, but I can appreciate it, people's value with it. I actually had a conversation with somebody a while back where they were saying, there was a friend, it was like a associate, I'll just say, and they said they were criticizing somebody for their, like they had did like some sort of outlay. I think it was the Cybertruck. For the record, I do not like Cybertrucks. I think that they are. Well, I'll just say this right for me. I'm not a big fan of Cybertrucks. Just, I think aesthetically they don't look that great. However, if that's your ticket, man, I mean, Okay, another side tangent here. Yeah, just tangents about. Um, I can't justify an expensive purchase for a nerd item that is not for me. Like I just said, the Triforce sword, right? That wouldn't mean anything to me because I'm not big into Legends of Zelda. It's not my cup of tea. I would invest that money, and I don't have it yet, but in case anybody wants to get me anything for my birthday, I would invest money in a Legendary Series Power Rangers Gold Zeo staff from the Gold Power Ranger from Power Ranger Zeo. That I would take very much so. That like that that amps it up a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's your value and what you get out of it. And the one thing I love about nerdom is that a lot of people can get a lot of things out of it: creativity, expressionism, freedom, again, a connection, an understanding, the other thing too is that I love nerdom because it almost gives like a common ground to really establish a connection with other human being. Because if you're looking to connect to someone on any level, really, right, you want to try and find a common ground and then kind of build a relationship from there. That's kind of what I try to do with a lot of people when I meet them. Is I will find some sort of I will find some sort of common ground of something we either like, do, or just I'll stupidly make up the weather, but something common that we can discuss and talk about. Again, I talk to friends daily that I met from wrestling and have grown in the friendships with them. My best friend Andrew, we have a lot of shared common. Excuse me. We have a lot of common hobbies and similarities and similar nerdums. I mean, hell, I just messaged him and we were talking about The Rock and how he loves The Rock, and just like fun, like just banter about that. And again, that it's that fun just commonality where it's a thing we can talk about passionately, joke about it, fun about it. How awesome was this? How cool was that? I did this and that and the other. It brings out, to me, it brings out the best in people when it's used in a positive light. It's the people who are gatekeeping and thinking that they are wrong, or not embracing it. And that's the thing, folks. I will tell you that right now. That will kill a fandom. That will absolutely kill a fandom if there is some sort of tribalism or some sort of gatekeeping of some kind. It's just sorry, I don't like harping on the bad things, but like I just hate that part. But yeah, that's why that's kind of why I wanted to come on here and do like this show and do other things on here. Like when I uh again, going back to the wrestling shtick, when I was doing the kayfabe stuff and the pro wrestling content, um, I would miraculously get viewers, which is still a crazy thing to me. And then you start talking about it. You pitch ideas, you pitch series, or like this, and then it just broadened this horizon. And by the time I knew it, there was a good like 20 to 30 people that knew me and got to know me, and we shared commonalities and got to interact and meet a lot of cool people. It's just fun, and it brings out like this, like I said, this level of joy and enjoyment. Um, but yeah, that's my nerdum, and I'm sticking to it. And I want to hear your guys' nerdum. I would love, if you guys want me to, I can definitely do a separate episode in the future about any, obviously, of these particular topics, whether it be wrestling, Pokemon, any of the stuff, honestly. Or if there's other genres or things you want me to talk about, let me know. Because, and again, that's kind of going back to like trying things out, right? Like I went from wrestling and then I tried the Marvel stuff. And so it's just a different vibe. But like in here too, like even this one, right? Like this series in and of itself. Let's get really meta in here with Rogue Thoughts, right? This is to kind of broaden my horizons and try to like find some sort of commonality and common ground and see what happens and see what sticks and see what works. And if this works, great. If it doesn't, we'll try something different. You know what I mean? Just enjoying the vibes. Sorry, I just got really hippie all of a sudden. But anyway, um, yeah, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up for me. I think I'm just going. I think I've just gone on way too many nerd tangents here, but I want to hear about your nerd stuff that you love. I want to hear about the things you enjoy. Is it something I haven't missed? If I haven't listed, what's the things you like about it? I want to hear what you guys enjoy about this fandom specifically. Is it visual, audio, the experience, movies, books, the whole shebang, bang, bang? Let me know what you could not ever, like, if you were given like a mic, you could go on for like 20 hours talking about. I want to hear about it because who knows, it might end up in a future episode. Hit me up down that social down below. I think the links are all in the description. I say with the utmost confidence. I can't read. I can't do it. But that's gonna do it for this one. If you made it this far, and I appreciate you more than you know, I'll be back next week with another Rogue Thoughts. So until then, Just take care of yourself and take it easy.